The crazy talk on TikTok never ends. She got triggered, tried to play it cool, then started deflecting the conversation.
Okay, I thought I was gonna let this one slide, but a part of me feels like, no. I wanna say something. There's a video making rounds on TikTok, all right, where a Congolese guy has decided to stitch a South African lady's TikTok video where she asks Nigerian men a bunch of questions.
Why do you guys give girls money after?
Why they treat South African women such and such a way. In the Congolese guy's answer, he decided to focus on why foreign men give South African women money after coitus.
Wool up, just wool up.
Before we hear more from her, I've already covered the video that she is referring to in part 1. However, fear not, the Congolese guy that she is referring to made a follow-up video after he managed to trigger another woman. And he basically rehashes his talking points, and here is what he had to say.
So homegirl said I'm talking shit, which I don't necessarily mind. I'm not going to entertain it in that sector. But what I want to do is I want to just clarify one thing. The reason why I decided to reply to the girl's question because she needed answers. And even though she specifically said Nigerians, the reason why I also replied is because I've noticed that most South African women can't even distinguish the difference between Ghanaian, Cameroonian, Gabonese, Congolese. They all put us in the same bracket that we are Nigerian. So I thought maybe she might have come across a Congolese guy or a Cameroonian or a Ghanaian for that matter and just labeled Nigerian because she couldn't distinguish the difference between all these countries, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And if she says I'm talking bullshit, which I say is totally fine, I needed to pick up exactly which part of the segment I say which was not true.
Yeah, facts over feelings.
Reason being, she asked why we give money and explained to my best abilities why we give money. You understand? And giving girl money after a sexual intercourse, it simply means that it's an exchange of currency. You give me service, I render the service, you render the service, I give you back something in compensation, which is the money. Now, anything that is being given back in transition, it's a trade. And if you are trading your body for money as a woman, subconsciously or consciously, it means you are working as a prostitute. I don't understand why is that glorified in a country and made as if it's a good thing. You know, we have young girls in this country going around assuming or thinking that every time I sleep with a man, they need to give me money in exchange. Now, you making them feel like it's okay for them to do that, which is, I mean, rightfully fine as an adult, as a fully grown woman, if you're in that industry or you're thinking that you might be going towards that industry. But what you should not do is make believe to these young girls that it is okay for you to start asking for money after sex, because from there it only grows founder and grows bigger and bigger. These girls, as I said, they're being initiated into prostitution without even knowing, and before you know it, it's too late. You understand? As the girl mentioned on her video, now she's at a point where she can't even have sex with a foreign national without expecting anything in return.
We're even expecting it to the point where now, guys, like, if I go get chowed by a Niger boy, I'm literally gonna expect, like, money.
And now, if we put into bracket of understanding for the fact that she expects something in return all the time that she has sex with a foreign national, it's because it was initiated somewhere by somebody, correct? And if you say I'm lying, let's put you into practice. If you sleep around with one man that gives you money and you go and sleep with the next man that gives you money and you follow up with the next man that gives you money, eventually when you start expecting money in return for your body, automatically what? You are a prostitute.
Am I into prostitution? I didn't know I'm into prostitution.
So what do you mean I'm talking shit? You know they say in my country, if the shoe fits, you wear it. If somebody throws a stone in the dark and the person screams, aye, it means the stone caught them. I think at this point, they just caught you. That's it.
Oh, burn. You know what's messed up about this situation? The South African women accustomed to that lifestyle expect South African men to maintain it, in which most of us don't subscribe to the coitus for cash trading movement.
If I go get chowed by a Niger boy, I'm literally gonna expect, like, money.
Ha! The papaya! And if you do subscribe to it, amen, no judgment. do what you gotta do. Another messed up situation in relation to this is that these Nigerian men are using a woman's hypergamous nature against her to their own benefit and setting up conveniences for the next dude, making it easy for them to turn some South African women into reusable, reliable girlfriends for rent.
That's fucked up.
Because this particular group of women know they're gonna get their backs blown out and get compensated for it, which is gonna make getting into relationships and dating for these girls a little bit more harder than what it already is. Think about it this way. Say you date a guy that gives you a girlfriend allowance of 5K monthly. Then you'll break up. Now the next relationship that you get yourself into, you're probably going to expect that 5K allowance or more. All because the previous guy that you dated set up a standard that you would like to maintain and uphold. So obviously, if a guy gives you cash for ass every interaction that he has with you, moving forward, you're going to expect cash for ass. Because that's the set standard. And now the lines quickly get blurred. All of a sudden, you're a girlfriend for rent.
Am I into prostitution? I didn't know I'm into prostitution.
Now there's a price tag to your body.
How much do you charge? That's a goddamn shame.
And that's how some women end up projecting their coochie prices on men disguised as standards. Some people go work, others hustle people out of their money and call it hooking up.
Yes.
What you gonna do for me? You can't just do that for free. Like, what
you
I look
mean?
like? Letting me somebody off the street.
You
Letting
just
them
told me
run
you
up
was
in
gonna
me
eat
like
it up.
that. Okay, but what you gonna do for me? Cause you gonna enjoy it the whole time. What about me?
I mean, I only last 2 seconds. So.
Okay, but my nails done. I need some clothes. I need what? You gonna have to take me.
I can take you to
somewhere.
like Macy's or something.
Obviously, you got the money.
I can take you to like Macy's.
Macy's.
What's wrong with Macy's?
I need Gucci or LV.
She belongs to the streets. We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay focused.
Transactional coitus is ass courting. If you expect money after coitus, that's ass courting. So let's stop making it sound cool by using terms like hook up and just call it what it is. I can afford you for the night. Talk about cheapening yourself just for petty cash. How easy can you get? What's crazy to me about this whole transactional coitus thing is that it's been glorified. And I'm not mad at it. It's just annoying that's the pool of women that I have to swim through in pursuit of finding a woman with morals to give my last name to. I must go find that person through all that trauma just so you can afford some fabricated social media lifestyle that you cannot afford, let alone need to smash a bunch of people in order to maintain.
A small price to pay.
And there's always a lady trying to downplay the situation, because as men, we need to understand the bad decision women in the sisterhood make. I mean, we already know the shaming tactics they use. The misogyny, narcissist, that's sexist.
Oh gosh.
And here is what the lady from earlier on had to say.
All right.
The way she dropped that,
All right.
you can tell that she's triggered.
I watched it, listened, and his perspective is valid. When I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, okay. He's just speaking off of his experiences. I don't have to attach myself to that. But as the day went on, you notice and see for yourself how South African men are justifying what he says and add salt to the point where we find it okay to blanket South African women as whores.
As a South African black man, I'm supposed to deal with South African black women. And not all women move like that. However, there's a really high influx of women who do move like that all of a sudden. Especially those that value money for their beauty, or money for their time, or money for their body. And I talk to a lot of guys. A lot of guys have the same problem. And also, isn't she the one that said,
I watched it, listened, and his perspective is valid. Perspective is valid.
when that man said,
The life is fast in South Africa. You understand what I'm saying? It's too fast. At any time you can get any woman in this country. Even like right now on the street right now, all you gotta do is approach. Whether she's in a relationship or married, whatever the case might be, you at least have a chance of literally taking that girl home.
so how is this adding salt if she acknowledged his valid point? When the same South African men in the comment section agree to that valid point. Because those men agree with what this man is saying.
Make that make sense. What the fuck?
African black woman, not even white. I'm not even moving into white because I doubt the Congolese guy was talking about white woman. South African black women are whores.
Now let me tell you something because you don't know nothing.
White, colored, Indian, South African men are not complaining about their women jumping borders because they're loyal to them and they're loyal to their culture. Some of them, not all of them. It's only in the black community where this is apparently an issue.
Right.
Do you know what is interesting about this? Black, Congolese, Nigerian, Somalian, African women are usually loyal to the men from their country. It's pretty rare. It's a rare occasion when you hear stories of those women interacting with South African men.
Why?
Because most South African men prefer South African women due to the culture and the indifference. And also, there is no wrong in dipping outside, exploring other races. This man is only referring to black South African women because he's a black man in a different country. Because the women in the countries don't move the same way as some South African women are moving, where they overvalue foreign nationals as opposed to men in their own country.
And then after that, if we look at the state of where we are now, there are so many rape cases making the news, and these rape cases, they have suspects that are South African men and foreign men. And then as a South African woman, you think to yourself, where the hell do I find protection? Where? Where? I'm laughing, but it's a very serious matter.
Bro, what are you talking about?
I'm extremely confused.
GBV and grape are a serious matter in this country. However, how did we get to this conversation?
Ow!
Why is she deflecting? The conversation at hand is, why do Nigerian men pay women after coitus? And this is why sometimes holding a dialogue with some women is so difficult. They always refer to horror stories just to make a point, and they end up losing the point because you just kind of deviated from the point. I know so many women that were hurt by men. Yo, relax, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about cash for ass. We're not talking about GBV. However, since we are on this matter at hand, lady, you find protection from the men you deal with, validate, respect, and you give your time to. The problem here is a lot of black South African women have zero respect for black South African men, especially those women that are always comparing South African men to foreign men. I prefer foreign nationals because they know how to treat a lady. And if it's not that, it's the shaming tactics they always use to try to guilt trip us. South African men are broke. That time, most South African working black men have to deal with black techs and take care of their families before they take care of themselves. South African men are stingy. That time, those men spend their money where it makes sense and it benefits them too. So a girlfriend allowance does not make sense when you have dependents and mouths to feed. South African men are short. That time, the women are just as short. Also, no one has control over their height. So why are we shaming them? Bruh. They call us trash, they call us dogs, and we find a way to make that look cool by taking the verbal abuse. Yes, it's verbal abuse. And we just keep it moving and deal with the women that want to deal with us. However, ladies, the same men y'all using these shaming tactics to guilt trip them into whatever narrative you're trying to sell to them, don't expect them to be there when ish hits the fan. It's like that one saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You cannot treat people badly and expect them to be there when you need them to be there for you. The same men that you were shaming will tell you to maintain the same energy that you were using to shame them. And it's shameful that a lot of South African men don't want to protect South African women. It's very shameful. It's distasteful.
And another thing is, I hate how this whole conversation reeks of misogyny.
God, please, no!
And it's a bunch of narcissistic men who have a bunch of issues within themselves gassing up this entire conversation.
What?
That is bullshit.
Because I tell you, there are so many South African women that slut themselves out.
And also, isn't she the one that said,
Point where we find it okay to blanket South African women as whores.
Things look contradictory.
Listen properly.
So many South African women that slut themselves out.
Really, nigga?
For foreigners in Greece, Turkey, the UK, the Americas. Yeah, what other country is there? There's so many places with beautiful men.
She belongs to the galaxy. Galaxy.
And our South African women go there. And then afterwards, you will never hear those men blanket South African women as whores.
Oh, okay. Convince yourself that.
Never. But trust the black foreign man to come back with a lot of anger and hate and call the woman that he's going after in the country that he lives in a bunch of whores. We hate ourselves. And I'm just saying, let's just learn to love ourselves. And if you meet this man, continue scamming him. Please.
Huh? Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
You know the funny thing about this girl's video? Her caption is black on black hate is the pits. And then she says,
and if you meet this man, continue scamming him. Please.
Come on, man.
Isn't that hate on its own, or am I reaching? No, please, let me know. Also, how did we move from...
His perspective is valid.
2,
meet this man, continue scamming him.
this is what happens when you deflect. Horror stories. Deflect. Shaming tactics to invalidate someone's point. Deflect. The victim card when there's no need to drop it. Just stick to the topic.